Hello everyone and welcome. Yes, my name is Arafire. Now today I'm going to do a little bit of a special video. You may have noticed that over in the Americas there was a Transformers convention, TFCon, which if I'm right was the first one since the pandemic started. And this was obviously great for a load of people who haven't been able to go to Transformers conventions, meet up with their famous friends. And this is obviously great for people who haven't been able to go to conventions and meet up with their friends and loved ones, much like we have over in the UK with our wonderful TF Nation, which we are very much looking forward to. However, looking at TFCon and some of the reveals that came out, particularly from the third-party market, there was so much going on, I just thought I had to do a video about it. So really, I guess this is an episode of All Talk No Shop because, we've got a lot to talk about.
All talk, no shop.
Now, some YouTubers you might know went to TFCon themselves and have done videos on it since. I'm sure you know the likes of Deluxe Baldwin, Kane Toys Reviews and Patriot Prime. So they've covered off some of these with some great discussions and haul videos since, but I particularly wanted to focus on the third-party reveals. So let's get into some of them. So we'll start off then with Zeta that have come up first, and they have done their third-party Superion set, which I have reviewed on this channel. You may have seen, there's a plug for you, and they've reduced them down to legend scale. I think we've got it here that the individual bots are 10 to 12 centimeters in height and the combiner height is 23 centimeters. So this is obviously a fair bit shorter than a Masterpiece combiner scale. So this is their aerial bots, their Superion, and the first one you see on here is Silverbolt, and he looks just the same as the Masterpiece one but scaled up. It looks good. It is a good bot, and these are of course in very much the Toon accurate colours. What you saw me review on my channel was for the metallic edition. So we see Silverbolt, we see Slingshot as well, not with the gold coloured cockpit, with the glass on the cockpit. That's interesting, because I thought, if I remember rightly, the Toon edition had the more traditional orange colouring. I might be wrong. The metallic edition is certainly very similar to this. I love that jet mode though, I just think that looks so good. A very Harrier inspired jet. And then you have Fireflight looking again much the same with his cheeky chappy expression. And then that is actually all the bots we had revealed. Here you have all 5 of them in the combine mode, but yet only 3 bots. We don't see individual bots of Air Raid and Skydive, which I may have missed the bots, but I don't think I could find any. Maybe they didn't show them and they've only shown 3 in front of the combiner. It's a bit strange. But you can see what Superion looks like. Again, looks just like the Masterpiece version, but scaled right down. Maybe not as much detail on the chest, I'll say that much. But the colours look good. You've got the alternative head on there as well. It will come with the 2 heads for your particular flavour of Superion. I will say the feet look pretty uninspiring, but still, for people who want a very good combiner mould, Zeta combiners I think are the best combiners on the market, but want to have it a bit more sizable for the rest of their collection, this is a very good place to start. So then moving on to Planet X and their recent reveal of their IDW inspired Grimlock. This is their Carcass, as it's called. Now this has been revealed a bit recently, there's been pre-orders up for it, and now we are seeing some prototypes or test shots going out to market. And even at TFCon itself, the physical copy was there behind the glass for people to see in the flesh. This looks really, really good. I love the Grimlock. But we were also given this reveal that they're not done with the Dinobot set. And this is their Proteus, which is their Sludge. And I think this could be a very, very interesting set. Now, IDW Grimlock, it's a long tangent, I won't go into it, but I don't think Grimlock was used to his fullest potential in IDW. I think there was a lot left on the table. This Dino mode though, this bot mode, this stylisation of Grimlock, it's not a traditional Grimlock, I just think it looks really, really good. Really gives me that Jurassic Park kind of vibe. So I'm very much open to having a complete Dinobot set looking like this. It's a very stylised take on the Dinobots. However, as you may have seen, I have the Geiger powered Dinobots. Now, I don't know if I've got the space for another 5 massive set of Dinobots, but I think this looks good. Quite interesting, it says at the bottom there, not in scale. Yet they felt the need to put them side by side. So then moving on to Legend Scale, and you will see here a miniature Megatron, their new age version of Megatron. I think this was a TFCon exclusive in the black repaint, and this looks particularly good. Again, typical New Age, comes with a load of accessories. The hands look fantastic. You've got, I mean, it's again what New Age are doing. They are making, they're not ripping off, but they are just making replicas of masterpiece grade, but shrinking them right down with their own great quality of build. And what you can see here is pretty much every accessory that you get with MP36. There's the Kara release. You've got the pistol that he kills Optimus Prime with. You've got the key for Vector Sigma. You've got all of the gun accessories and a couple of face repaints. But I'm not going to deny it looks really, really good, particularly when you see the grip of the hand gun mould on Megatron's legs. It looks fantastic. And when it's all transformed up, it really does look like the gun from The Man from U.N.C.L.E. It's, again, if you're a Legends collector, this is going to work really well. But we're not done with New Age yet. There was a load of releases. And what you can see here, you've got a traditional looking Devastator all combined up. Now I do lose track as to which combiner and which Legend company we're doing right now. I think we've got Magic Square and New Age both working on their Devastator. I think New Age is the one, well, it's obviously this one. I think it's Magic Square that's got that weird skeleton, but I do get confused between the two. But this looks really good. I think the head sculpt looks fantastic and those yellow eye visors look really, really good. But you have a G2 flavouring for your different collection or different stylising. And I think, again, this looks really good. Interesting that the eyes are red on this one and they're yellow on the traditional toon colouring, the green Devastator. But again, really good to see. The New Age do really wonderful builds, so this will look very good in this collection. I do think Mixmaster looks really tiny though. So then moving on, we are again not done with the MP44 build, or miniature MP44. Here you have Shattered Glass Optimus Prime, and that purple, that teal as well, looks stunning. It looks so good. And I don't know if it was the new offering of Optimus Prime where it had like a mini section within the chest for the Matrix to come out. I can't see that on this. That's not to say it's not there. It's not to say that it isn't just a normal chest opening, but you'd have to see in hand. But I think the colours look fantastic. Moving on, we have a Nemesis Prime in the same mould. So again, they're getting their money out of repaints, a wonderful colouring, but it comes with a cape, and we all love a cape, don't we, Jamie? So this is just, again, New Age is really just getting the most out of all their builds, and it is, again, the shrunken down masterpiece, which will work for a lot of people. Speaking of which, we have a bit of an interesting render of Cyclonus. This doesn't fully strike me as a Fans Toys Quietus shrink down side. It's not like the New Age Darius, their sovereign shrink down, the Fans Toys Galvatron. I'm not completely sold on this one. I think it looks good, but I don't think it's trying to be a one-on-one copy, just shrunk down to scale. But this is obviously their Cyclonus. Cyclonus is looking very Cyclonus-like, and yeah, I think the jet mode looks very good. I think when that's all transformed up in hand, that would look very nice. I think that would rival kind of an Earthrise Seeker jet mold in terms of scale. I think that would look very nice. And then we go into Beachcomber as well. It's good to see him in there. I've always had time for Beachcomber. I think it could be a very simple transformation, legs fold up, arms tuck in, but again, looks very nice. But yeah, that is everything from New Age. They do like to spur out their releases all in one hit. This is no exception. So another company that did a big spate of releases was Mastermind Creations, MMC, who have decided to bring out again their Skylinks, their Magna Continuum, or it goes by a variety of names, but this is their Skylinks in two separate molds, and this one is toon accurate, toon colouring, so we see softer colours, pastel colours almost. And what you can see here is the links of Skylinks that transforms up to be the transportation side of Skylinks, which, whilst it's a nice gimmick and yeah, it's homage to the cartoon, of course it is, I always feel when you just stick a shuttle on top of that cargo bit, it just looks like he's sitting on top of a box. But still, in toon accurate colours, it is very much what we're familiar with. It does look really good, and it will suit a lot of people's collections. I haven't got this myself. I'm still very happy with my Earthrise Skylinks, but when it's all transformed up and combined up, this is easily of Geiger Power size. It's huge. I've seen other people holding it when it's not in bird mode and lynx mode. When it's in full Skylinks mode, this will look fantastic. The shuttle mode, when he's in space shuttle mode alone, I think maybe the blue, whilst again it's toon accurate, could come across almost a bit boring. I think the red in bird mode, when he's got the neck extended and the legs and the tail out, that looks good, that looks captivating, but yeah, maybe not as inspiring, but it still is going to be a wonderful figure to hold. The build quality is going to be fantastic, scale is going to be off the chart. But we are not done with MMC, and MMC is not done with your wallet. So now we have seen, we've seen these anyway, but we saw proper in-hand reveals of their protector bots. And here we have the pictures you may have seen before, but we've got them in hand. This is their Groove, and then there's Streetwise, Hotspot, Blades, and First Aid. And First Aid was the one I really wanted to single out, because we actually saw physical copies of First Aid actually at TFCon. Now the only thing that bothers me about this is, whilst the combined mode looks great, I did wonder about size. MMC tend to go for a little bit shorter size than their combiners, and I've been bitten by the Zeta bug now. I kind of want everything big scale size, a Toy World Zeta size for my combiners. I think this looks really good, and I'm all for a big Defensor. I just wonder if it's going to fit into my collection well, considering I've still got my Combiner Wars Devastator with the upgrade kit. But after seeing the First Aid that's there, I thought, particularly with the head sculpt, it looked fantastic. And I would almost buy it for the individual bot to stay in robot mode. I wouldn't necessarily combine it. That's okay, but it's interesting that you would prefer to keep it in one of its modes that isn't combine mode. What's that? Fans Toys, I hear you cry. Don't worry, I've got you covered. So with Halloween coming up, we're going to have a look at some spooky looking sweeps. And yes, Fans Toys are finally getting into the Scourge market. Now this to me seems like a long time coming. You can see the number up there, FT61. They've had 61 attempts and now we're getting a Scourge. So this is obviously going to be their sweeps, and I would imagine they will be sold as an individual and as a 3-pack, similar to what X-Transbots did. But we'll see what happens. Maybe Fans Toys want more of that dollar and they want you to buy 3 separate ones if you want an army of sweeps. It looks really good. I do question how far along this is in development, because a good way to look at that is the lines, I find, particularly on the legs. Are these just lines for definition, or are these lines for build? Is there actually a built model? But it looks really good. The articulation on the fingers look fantastic. I think that's going to look really nice when it's all done. The wingspan looks very impressive as well, so housing this thing in your collection could be interesting. But it transforms up very nicely. We've got traditional spaceshipy looking modes, but what is quite interesting, and I'm sure this will change, these are early shots, there is no Frankus, the Target Master. So I'm surprised that's not in the early shots, but it shouldn't be too hard for them to make. They've done it before, I'm sure they will again. But moving on, we have Outback. And this is an interesting choice, a very lesser known character, but this is FT52, so we're coming down in a number scale. Maybe that shows you how far along this is in development, because particularly when you look at the back of the legs of the robot mode, you can see things like screw holes. This is where it kind of says to you, they've got working replicas. They're happy to not necessarily show it in colour, but they're showing that something has been assembled. And it looks good. The expression on the face is a bit weird, a bit bland. I actually quite like the vehicle mode. It gives me very much Hound vibes. Maybe this is what Hound would look like, but it also gives me very much a reminiscent of the G1 toy. Fans Toys do like to be very toon accurate to the cartoon, but this actually gives me toy vibes, at least in vehicle mode, which I welcome. So not necessarily my favourite character, but I suppose nice to see Fans Toys are certainly working their way through the G1 cast. Onto that we have FT54 Powerglide. Now I think the bot mode in this looks wonderful. I think the proportions on it look really, really good for what you'd expect Powerglide to look at. Now of course he is a mini bot, he's not going to be tall, he's not going to be big. I think the stature of the folded up wings will make him look quite tall. And if they get that colour red right, that sort of cherry red, almost a maroon red, this will pop really nicely in your collection. A lot of people did complain that in jet mode, it doesn't look anything like what we'd want him to look like. It's very narrow in the fuselage. Now I'm certainly no expert, but one thing I did think of, this gives me like spy plane kind of vibes. The narrow cockpit to kind of be stealth-like almost. This gives me more of a real world feel. Again, a bit like what I'm saying with Outback with the vehicle mode, there seems to be more This is what a modern day power glide would look like, not necessarily one from a cartoon in 1984. Maybe we're starting to see a change of tack from Cang Toys. Maybe not. It's just food for thought. And then we jump back up into the numbers. FT62, we see a Headmaster, we see Chrome Dome. Now, this is an interesting choice. It's obviously a very famous character, and one you can do a lot with. The vehicle mode is good, it looks very good, he's got his 2 guns, the robot mode looks good, and it's a Headmaster. So clearly Cang Toys are now working their way into the Headmaster's market. However, there has been the Make Toys Cupola that's been around for some time. It's quite tried and tested. I think there was some trouble with the ankles that has been replaced, that has been repaired. So I'm surprised, of all the ones available, particularly with Skull Cruncher coming out, and they've done pretty much a Decepticon Headmasters, why they would go with Chrome Dome for this release. Chrome Dome obviously being very popular in the Japanese market from the Generation 1, as he was effectively the leader in the Headmasters miniseries, but they didn't go for like a Highbrow or a Brainstorm, 2 characters that really have been underutilized, and that would pretty much fall into most people's collections. I would be very happy if I had a Masterpiece scale Highbrow in my collection. But looking at this figure, again, I wonder how far in development it is. Interesting that you can see sort of the butterfly joints under the arm. Again, that says to me that it's quite late in development, particularly when you look at the fingers as well. You've got the interchangeable grooves underneath the fingers on the palm of the hands, you've got the ball joint for the wrist. So I'm guessing something has definitely been developed as well when you look at the Headmaster. So this looks really good. How this will differ up against the Make Toys version will be key. The thing that stands out to me straight away is the shoulder stacks are a lot smaller, a lot shorter. So it possibly looks cleaner. Cang Toys do a very clean robot mode. I'm not against it, I'm really not. Chrome Dome is certainly one of my favourite characters. I just think this is a very interesting choice for them to be tackling at this point. But not so fast, Cang Toys, I'm not done with you yet. Why, oh why, are you distracting us with all of these nice new releases? Yes, they look good, and yes, people will want them, and yes, they will sell. But I'll ask the question that everyone else has been asking. When are you going to finish the combiners? You're going into Headmaster territory. You're looking at things like Fortress Maximus. That's going to take up a lot of your time making a 4-foot Titan work. Clearly, there is some distracting going on. They don't know how to finish off their combiner set. Okay, I'm not going to say it's easy. Of course it's not. But you don't get 4/5 out of a series done and don't finish with the last one of the Stunticons to finish a Menasor. Or 3/5 of the way done with the aerial bots. This is going on for a long time now. You've seen the numbers there. FT64, the numbers are ramping up. How long is it going to be until we get the last Stunticon, the last 2 aerial bots, and have they scared themselves? Are we going to get any other combiners? Is there going to be Computron? Is there going to be an Abominus? Anything like that? I wonder, I worry more than I wonder that Cang Toys have bitten off more than they can chew, and they are trying to ignore this. That being said, it was a long time ago that they initially released their renders for the Fortress Maximus build, and now it looks like they're following up on their promise. This looks like it will take a very long time, but hopefully they will finish off on it. But we're watching you, Cang Toys. We're watching you. And then we'll finish off with Fans Hobby. Now this isn't a company I particularly got into all that much, although I am looking to work that into my collection. But here we're starting to see a few more of their car mould. Now I'm not particularly clued up onto which character this is going to be. It's not something I'm particularly clued up on generally, but this is a mould and a figure that we have seen recently, and looks like another one's coming out. But if you look at this combine mode now of this Optimus Prime, now this, if I'm right, is from the Energon cartoon. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below, but this is obviously a combined up Optimus Prime. Looks very good, even if the legs look very skinny. But I'm guessing obviously these are limbs that are going on to an Optimus Prime body. They're not going to be necessarily of the same proportion. But molds production in progress, coming August 22. So not all that far away for some release in some standards. And you can see some other shots of it, yeah. It looks very good. You can see straight away, no ankle tilt, which bothers me a bit for a combined mode. But still, it does look very good. I hope it can support its own weight, because it's going to be Optimus with limbs hanging off it. It's going to have a lot of weight to it. And then we can go into double dealer territory. Some Newcastle fans among us would be very glad to have this in their collection. This is coming in the fall of 2022, so not quite as precise. And this is looking very early on, but I think we've seen that in some of them. It looks literally out of a 3D printer, not finite, but it's coming in the fall of 22, so we are going to get a very masterpiece grade, a very masterpiece scale of Double Dealer. Andy will certainly be happy. But then we get some teasers at the very end. We have MB20. This is Armada Overload, and this is going to effectively be a massive combining piece to the MB15 robot, who could already combine to make, Naval Commander, which is a powered up Optimus Prime, and now we're going to get this Optimus Prime and Overload combining robot. Knowing that Fans Hobby do not do small scale, I cannot begin to imagine how big this is going to be. And it's going to look very impressive in your collection if this is indeed what you collect. If not, you might want to get into it anyway. And you can see some very sketchy sketches, if you like, of how it's going to look. And this is all Optimus in his fully combined mode, trailer attached, very Armada looking, but with these two massive cannons at the top, and it says there, combined mode. Again, coming in the end of 2022, just in time for Christmas. But look at this at the end. Now, at the bottom there, you've got, for scale, MB17 Meg Tyranno, which is their Armada Megatron tank, which I have just pre-ordered, and I'm very much looking forward to that. But look at that thing at the top. MB21 Super Vehicle Mode, and it's flying, but looks like it could also swim. It looks like that is a very big tidal wave. Finally, we have a tidal wave, and I am very excited about this. This is a character that is so popular, and an alt mode that looks really good, a robot mode that's going to be so damn intimidating. That is not going to come out until the end of 2022 or the beginning of 2023. That is a long way off, but I am very excited for that. I mean, I have decided to purchase Armada Megatron, their MB17, but MB21 for a tidal wave has got to be on my list. One final bit of news I wanted to cover. It wasn't released at TFCon, but it was actually to do with Cang Toys. Now, I've spoken about them quite a bit recently, but we are starting to see more and more renders of their finished Predaking look, and now it looks like it's not going to be a 5 or 6 combiner team making Predaking anymore. We could be up as many as 7 or even more. So we've seen the release of Razor Claw. A lot of people have said this doesn't look Razor Claw enough for them. We've obviously got Dive Bomb out. Monkey Pants, the Optimus Primal, has come out next. We know this is probably going to be the torso. I can generally accept that. That's another form of parts forming, and I've always said if the parts forming makes the combiner and it makes the combiner work and solid and good, I can live with it. However, now we've got this wolf reveal, it seems, and this looks like it's going to be at least one of Predaking's feet. Now, this bothers me. This bothers me because we saw very early designs that said there was going to be 5 or 6 members to this team, and now out of the blue we got another member. That says to me that throughout the development making this Predaking, they couldn't hold the weight. They couldn't release parts to be sold with the last combining piece, the last member that you just attach like most combining teams do. They had to release it as a separate bot with its own build, probably made out of die cast, to justify the weight. And that says to me that even through production they still haven't finalised their Predaking. They haven't worked it out, much like what Fans Toys are doing. But that concerns me. That concerns me to get this late in the game. The fact that you've got 3 figures out, 2 more up for pre-order, now you're throwing out a foot as well. That says to me that this set could have more problems until we're done, and that's going to be a lot of money put into it. I hope this foot, this wolf foot, is marked down in price, because it's really there to make the combiner piece work. It's not even part of the Predacons. I know it's a stylized version, it's not trying to be 100% G1, but it's very much make this combiner team work. If you weren't interested in Predaking as a combiner, if you just wanted the individual bots, you don't need it. It's not going to give you that completed look. It's more of a concern than anything else. But hey, I said I'll see it through, and I will. I don't know if I'll be happy come the end of it. And there you go, that is a third-party reveals that were shown up at TFCon. But it was great to see it all just splurge onto the internet. And loads of us back in the UK who weren't seeing the releases, we got it all on social media pretty quickly. But I cannot wait for the likes of TF Nation to start up again, and we can have our own gathering and seeing people once more. We don't necessarily get too many reveals at TF Nation, but it's great to have the conventions back up and running. Great to see friends and members and YouTube celebrities getting back together and just having a great time among Transformers. The fact that we can get excited reveals is an added bonus. But thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share and hit that subscribe button, because I will see you on the next one.